Hello everyone and welcome to this evening's online event. My name is Elvin Box, and I have the very real privilege of being in the chair of London Constructing Excellence. Whilst you're all coming in from the lobby, please use your mobile phones to log on to www.menti.com, the website noted on the screen, using the code stated, as you will need to use this site so we can get your opinions on modern methods of construction during the presentation. So, as a warm-up, please do answer the question that will greet you on entering the code using common language for the construction industry. Our grateful thanks in advance. So we are delighted that you've been able to join us this evening for a talk that is all about the positive change happening in UK construction. The talk will commence in the next few minutes with your questions being answered from no later than 6:45 p.m. and our session wrapping at 7. Please note our hashtag tonight is hashtag LCEC MMC. 2 points to raise before we start the presentation. 1, as you are aware, for presentation purposes, you will be muted. Please you'll be so kind to turn off your cameras as well. Thank you. As is the norm with our online events, please use the chat facility throughout the presentation for your questions, which we very, very gratefully received. If you wish people to know you are the author of a question, please ensure your name appears on the question. Thank you. 2, please be aware that this evening's session is being recorded. Also, a gentle reminder, please use your mobile phones to log on to www.menti.com, the website noted on the screen, using the code stated, as we shall be using this site to get your opinions on modern methods of construction during the presentation. Now, our guest speaker is L. George, Innovation Lead for Modular Housing Manufacturer, Totally Modular, a civil and environmental engineer with a passion for all things innovative, who specialises in modern methods of construction. Elle has worked on a range of projects that includes hospitals and stadiums. She has always looked to increase sustainability in our built environment at every opportunity. To underline this fact, Elle undertook her own self-built eco-home. Elle is a leading champion for both sustainability and diversity within the construction industry, and was recognised as such in December with an award in the Homes UK Climate Champions Power List. Elle's key drivers are sustainable and accelerated construction, delivering more affordable homes and a community infrastructure that places social value at its very heart. It is therefore unsurprising that the 4 key takeaways from Elle's presentation are: 1, prime examples of digital innovations in construction, particularly in the housing sector. 2, making the case for data-led approaches. 3, how modular technology can provide a comprehensive information pathway. 4, what holistic building design can bring for a long-term social value. London Constructing Excellence is absolutely delighted that once again we've been able to secure such an expert practitioner for your enjoyment and edification. So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce L. George.
Thank you so much, Elvin, for that wonderful introduction, and it gives me great pleasure to be here. Just in case you missed what Elvin was saying at the beginning, if you've joined a little bit late, please turn your cameras off just in case. It's helping the broadband issue, because I do live rurally, so it does tend to be a bit problematic. And the other thing is, hopefully you can see on your screen, go to menti.com, MENTI.com on your smartphone and use the code 70946690, and you can put in your job function or your title, so we can get an idea of who we've got in the room. And we do have a lot of people in business development, architects and directors. So what we're going to do now, we've only got about 23 people who filled that in, so I'll just give a few more seconds in case there's anyone else who wants to quickly go to menti.com, 70946690. Just give a few more seconds for that. There is going to be a quiz in a minute, so it's a good job. It was a good idea if you can go to menti.com, and this is the precursor to the quiz. So a few more seconds to get this, and then this is going to move on. So moving on, tell me about your interaction with modern methods of construction. So using the slide bars on your phone, Do you know, tell me how much you agree with the statements. I know a lot about MMC. My work involves the use of MMC. I'm sick of hearing about MMC. Or I'm highly competitive and I'm going to win the quiz. So I'll just give a few seconds for the 3 answers so far. They're coming in thick and fast now. So there's quite a lot of people who are involved in MMC and people who know a lot about MMC, but don't worry because I'm going to explain some of the things about MMC, but I'm not going to go on and on about it because I think people are a bit sick of hearing about it. Although at 1.5, maybe people are not that sick of it hearing about it. And there's less competitive people in the room than I was expecting, actually. So I'll just give a few more seconds for that. And then I'm going to move on to my presentation properly. So, hopefully you can see the holding page, the webinar. If you can't, please shout at one of the moderators. So for obvious reasons, in recent months, there has been a big focus on COVID and Brexit. The crisis has been forgotten, but there's been a lot of money and energy been put into solving our immediate health crisis, and rightly so. We need to put this same effort towards some of the other issues affecting our sector. We face an even bigger challenge if we kick the can down the road, if we think we can fix it later. We're burying our heads in the sand. In order to get the right balance of priorities, we must think holistically. I was an environmentalist first, but MMC and sustainability should and usually do go hand in hand. But this webinar isn't about MMC or sustainability or innovation, health, housing or buildings. It's about thinking in the whole, all of these issues being approached, not in parts, but by thinking and acting holistically. Innovations in the construction sector have not always been taken up quickly or at all. Today, I will be promoting use of several digital innovations in construction, particularly in housing, but they are in the main relevant to all construction as many of the same principles apply to all parts of our built environment. Plus, if you live in a house, you should be able to relate to some of this and hopefully you will take away something useful. One of the biggest dangers we face, the biggest threat to our planet, is the belief that someone else will save it. So meet Shirtless Dancing Guy. Shirtless Dancing Guy is an MMC pioneer. So here he is throwing caution to the wind. Shirtless Dancing Guy isn't afraid to do things differently. He's not waiting for someone else to act. People want to live differently. People want better homes and reliable contractors. People want low energy bills and simple, easy to follow technologies. I believe every person has the right to a high quality future-proofed home. As the proud owner of this self-built eco-home, I know firsthand the impact a well-designed and healthy home can have on your physical and mental health. But I've realised one way to contribute to the decarbonisation of society is to courageously show others how to follow. But I'm also aware that an eco-home is not something that many have access to. Since realising this dream myself, I'm more determined than ever to show that innovative construction and development methods should be deployed ASAP. A former colleague called me an early adopter, and it's true that my home is a bit of a testbed. I do tend to challenge the status quo, and I won't apologise for being an optimist and innovator. We need it because we need safe, decent and affordable housing. Housing is absolutely essential to human flourishing. Without stable shelter, everything falls apart. Our sector, and our world for that matter, is in crisis. People are finally making the link between the quality of housing and maintaining good health. Many are also realising that housing is a significant contributor to the climate crisis, both via operational and embodied carbon. I firmly believe that building needs to change because buildings need to change because of the climate, health, housing and skills crises. That's why we must adopt modern methods of construction. My prediction is that in the next 5 to 10 years, the industry will realise benefits from economies of scale as more embrace technology and innovation. I believe this will actually be via each site using a hybrid of various off-site prefabricated elements, volumetric, panelised and component approaches alongside traditional construction. But to ensure that we deliver sustainable outcomes, it's not about predicting the future, it's about taking the steps ourselves to ensure that we get the future we want. Okay, so to check that you're still with me, it's time for a bit of audience participation. We're just going to go back to menti.com. So pick up your phones again, find the right screen. And it's time for the quiz. Okay, great. There's lots of people join. So hit one of the icons when you see this quiz time logo. I'll just give people a few more seconds. So we've got about 30 participants in the quiz so far. It'll be competitive. Okay, I'm going to start with the first question. Okay, I don't know if you had a chance to enter your names. These are all the entries, if you can see on the screen. I'm going to start the countdown in a second. Just to give you a warning, the quicker you answer, the more points you get. Over 170,000 new homes were built for the year ending June 2019. What percentage were built using off-site methods? And if you just use as if it's panelised and volumetric rather than things like drones. So what you would consider off-site methods. 2 seconds remaining. Oh, there we go. Most people got the correct answer. Well done. Let's see. Hoping this is going to work. Dragonite, whoever you are, well done. And good to see Mark in second there. Let's see how you fare on the next question. Remember, answer quickly to get more points. Financial year ending 2019, what percentage of new homes achieved Energy Performance Certificate A? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5%? I mean, frankly, they're all low. So how low did we go? 1 second remaining. Time is up. Everyone's voted. Oh, well, you're all a bit optimistic there. It's only 1% of homes achieved EPC A. And this is quite depressing, really. But I suppose in better news, B, I think something like 80% of new homes scored a B. So we're getting closer, but we need to do better. So let's go on to the results for that one. Oh, it's all changed. Kevin B, you're in the lead, followed by Wolfmeister. Moving on. Question 3. Answer fast to get more points. Mold spores can produce allergens, irritants, sometimes toxic substances, cause allergic reactions, sneezing, a runny nose, red eyes, and a rash, cause asthma attacks, or all the above are true. 4, 3, 2, 1. Time is up. Well done. Most people got the correct answer there. All of those things are true, and I will be talking about health in the home quite a bit during this presentation. Let's see the leaderboard. Paul, you're the fastest and you have the most points. Soph, I hope that is Sophie Chater. If it is, yeah, Sophie. Okay, last question. This is your time to redeem yourself. Ill health from poor housing costs the NHS an estimated 1, 2.5 or 5 billion per year. 7 seconds left. I can see there's 42 or 43 people playing along. The answer was 14. The answer was 2.5 billion, and 14 of you got it right. And we'll be talking about this quite a bit during the presentation. So let's see who the final winner was. And it was Paul. Well done, Paul. So before I tell you about some of the innovations we're adopting, and for benefit of those people who are joining the presentation without any formal knowledge of MMC, I must quickly explain the MMC definition framework. And this framework defines 7 categories ranging from full volumetric 3D primary structural systems, which Totally Modular manufacture, through to categories 6 and 7, which are site-based improvement methods. On the left-hand side, you can see one of Totally Modular's homes being installed. Category 1 homes are volumetric and are delivered on site with most internal and external finishes complete, including kitchens and bathrooms, so residents can move in quickly with very little additional work required. On the right-hand side, you can see an example of a Category 2 home being installed by Project Etopia engineers. This is often referred to as panelised design. Categories 3, 4 and 5 all relate to structural or non-structural sub-assemblies, things like bathroom pods and 3D printing. As I said, categories 6 and 7 are site-based improvements that lead to productivity improvements, examples being fabricated facades, bricklaying robots, or even the use of drones. There isn't really time to go into all the benefits of MMC, but very briefly, it's widely accepted that MMC has the potential to bring about improved health and safety, a reduction in the amount of waste produced, a reduced need for skilled labour. There's an opportunity to diversify that labour workforce, an increased speed of construction, increased focus on quality, and it provides cost certainty. The value of MMC comes from the potential to adopt a triple bottom line approach, also known as donor economics. Donor economics looks to think holistically. MMC homes have the potential for achieving lower carbon homes in less time and at less cost. The benefit to a tenant is a better experience through a quality home with low energy bills. The asset owner benefits from a high quality, high performing asset with more effective operation and maintenance and better data. And for the industry, this can create a safer, predictable and more profitable sector. To maximise benefit to our sector, it would be great if we can move from the use of MMC in only the 6 to 10% of projects to, well, as many as possible. People in our sector, in the MMC sector, are slightly obsessed with using the car manufacturing industry and comparing it to the offsite industry. And often the analogy that you wouldn't consider building a car on your driveway, so why would you consider building a home that way, is used. And of course, there's some truth in that. But let's look at another comparison with the car industry. Take a look at these 2 images taken 120 years apart. On the left, you have the pattern car produced in the year 1900 by the Daimler Motor Company of Coventry. And this manufacturer eventually became Jaguar Land Rover. Take a look at the 2 cars. What similarities can you see? Well, they both have 4 wheels, lights, a steering wheel, seats for a family. There's many similarities. But it's probably fair to say that the look has changed significantly, and it probably equally fair to say the process by which these engines operate is very different. Now let's look at the way we build our homes. Sorry, my notes has decided to freeze, which is brilliant. There we go. We still have funny looking gentlemen and not enough ladies laying bricks broadly the same way we did 120 years ago. 120 years, let that sink in. Well, I am very excited to be introducing a new and innovative product, introducing the Motor Mason. It is touted as the answer to the shortage of housing. spreads mortar as easily as a skilled man, lays bricks 5 to 10 times faster than compared with the ordinary method, only needs 2 unskilled men and 1 bricklayer to operate. It builds perfect walls, get cheaper housing and quicker building. It's a modern method applied to an old craft. Well, you might have picked up on my strong hint on the previous slide that this is actually a very dated innovation. It's the mechanical bricklayer from 1967. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't really show this video due to copyright, but I will share the links at the end because it's quite a hilarious video. This demonstrates that firstly, MMC is not new. There have been some changes in the way we build homes, but in comparison with other industries, there have not been that many innovations in housing. So what's gone wrong? Well, the immediate issue I see with this innovation is that you would need to move the tracks behind the wall from one place to the next. And overall, it probably hasn't been that well thought through. But the other thing that's gone wrong here, and in the decades that follow, is the lack of investment in technologies and the lack of support from government to measure whole life costs and benefits, looping back to our triple bottom line. Well, times they are a-changing, and we are now seeing much more substantial investment from government at national level and increasingly take up and driving from local government level. The UKRI have funded the Transforming Construction Challenge. The challenge will support the industry in adopting technologies and help build buildings that are constructed 50% faster, 33% cheaper, and with half the lifetime carbon emissions. And Totally Modular are really privileged to be taking part in 3 consortium projects: Stellar, Ignite, and the third is Enabling Housing Innovation for Inclusive Growth in partnership with Bristol Housing Festival. I believe that some of the technologies that we're trialling can and will be used to help us with some of the issues we're facing. These projects will hopefully unlock the much needed MMC innovation, which is vital, particularly to overcome these crises that we're facing. Can a digital information pathway be the game changer that will mean the construction industry finally adopt MMC? These icons that you can see here represent homes, commercial buildings and infrastructure. And I am sure we have representation from people who work predominantly within each of these sectors watching today. Most of what I'm talking about is relevant to all 3, but I have used the icons through the presentation to show you which ones could be applied where. Whether it was Airbnb to the hospitality sector, Amazon to retail, or Uber to personal transport, housing and wider construction are not immune. These sectors have been completely transformed by disruptive digital solutions. Digital transformation can be a catalyst to solving some of the issues the sector's facing. Can digitalisation transform the playing field, allowing the deployment of low energy, high quality, healthy homes? The housing sector is facing an inconvenient truth that without fundamental changes to existing business models, we will not be able to disrupt our current path. I'm sure you can see where I'm going here. We need a golden thread of information, starting from conceptual design, through a detailed design, through the construction phases, handover, maintenance, and in-use phases of the building, and not forgetting the important but often overlooked element of designing for deconstruction. This golden thread is a key element of the Innovate UK funded project Stellar, which Totally Modular are the consortium lead for. The aim of Stellar is to support small and medium enterprises and social housing providers to embrace MMC. It is an innovative housing model that realises a vision for human-centred housing. To address our housing shortage, we need many more new homes, so MMC is an obvious answer. However, the use of MMC, and especially volumetric, is often criticised as it relocates jobs, construction jobs, away from the local area, and large modules have to be transported hundreds of miles from where they're constructed. Well, the hub and spoke model is one answer to this problem. Locally based social value outcomes can still be secured through MMC procurement. The work we're doing with the University of Wolverhampton is to enable the most efficient layout and process using digital twinning. This optimises factory operations at both hub and spoke factories. Spoke factories replicate the assembly process that has been designed and warranted in the hub factory, using low-tech solutions for assembly and movement of any modules or panels that are constructed. Our Stellar approach also aims to develop a housing app and utilises platform design for manufacturing and assembly approach. The House Passport app or Home Track will be used to gather data on a building collected through its whole life cycle. The idea of Home Track is to literally track the home through its life. We aim to gather data as the home is designed, manufactured, then constructed on site. This data is then handed over to the client or asset owner to be used in the maintenance and operation phases and eventually decommissioning of the building. The tenant benefits from understanding how their home is performing, helping the tenant to simplify the management of their home. To give you an example of how this will be managed, when an element is installed within the home, for example, the home heating system, this can only be signed off by persons with relevant skills and qualifications. This is predefined within the Home Track app. They can record the information like part numbers and store photographs of the installation to provide reassurance of the build quality and of the competence of the operative who's installing it. This information can then be used by the asset owner who knows exactly when and how to maintain this home heating system. This metadata about the heating system is saved in the app during the installation, and both the asset owner and tenant can see how the heating system's performing. The Stellar project is also an example of the platform design for manufacturing or assembly, or PDFMA. You might have heard the term kit of parts. The term platforms is most commonly used in manufacturing, and it refers to a process where a set of components or assemblies can be put together in a multitude of different ways to create products. In the context of the built environment, the most basic goal of construction platforms is to drive value within our sector, to apply the lessons of manufacturing to construction, helping us do what we do, but better, more efficiently and more productively. The next game changer, I think, this is the biggest one really. The energy landscape is changing, and this is most definitely relevant to every part of the built environment sector. From the upheaval of the national grid towards decentralised assets, to the shift towards electric cars and smart cities, this is a time of unprecedented change, and of course with change comes opportunity. Smart energy is the use of data to navigate the evolving energy landscape. Smarter infrastructure, increased efficiency, new revenues, and a cleaner, greener future for power. For our new developments, we're selecting the right mix of technologies for the home, whilst taking into account the full lifetime value of products. Collection from the energy assets can be turned into micro energy stations to sell back to the grid. Data can be used to identify individual energy home profiles, understanding daily fluctuations and dominant loads, and can prioritise reducing energy consumption. Using techniques such as demand side response and load shifting, significant savings can be made. The next 10 years are crucial for decarbonisation at scale, and this will require unprecedented change of consumption habits and the way energy systems are deployed. We need, though, both behavioural and technological changes to achieve net zero carbon. Smart energy means energy production needs to move more local. Using local energy generation and reducing demand in the first place is a smart energy strategy. To be ready for the smart energy revolution, we are installing home batteries alongside renewable technologies and low carbon heating sources. Together, of course, with a fabric first approach, you have an A-rated building that is future-proofed. And as a reminder from our quiz, currently only 1% of homes are built to an A rating. And if you want to know more about the concepts around smart energy, I can recommend the excellent team at Hydrock, and I will share a link at the end. It's taken a global health crisis to realise our greatest wealth is health. It's forced a spotlight on how contaminants in the air can cause health problems. But viruses are not the only potential pollutant in our homes. As designers, do we put enough value on positive health outcomes from those buildings, or do we just see health initiatives in terms of their financial cost? Ill health from poor housing, as you saw earlier, costs a whopping 2.5 billion a year due to respiratory and circulatory diseases. In terms of thermal comfort, stats have shown that if £1 is spent on reducing fuel poverty, 42 pence can be saved in terms of cost to the NHS. The annual cost of cold homes is 1.36 billion, and there are 24,000 deaths per year in the UK due to excess cold, and heat-related stress causes 1,000 premature deaths. However, statistics show that 30% would pay more for a healthier home. You've seen it in your bathtub, on your sponge, or in your washing machine, and possibly in your teenager's musty sock drawer. It's mold, the microscopic fungus that loves to live in damp, dark places. But, well, if you didn't know before, hopefully you've learnt now in the quiz that it can be very harmful to your health, leads to respiratory issues, nausea, comas, and even cancer. We spend 90% of our time indoors and 65% at home. So it's not difficult to make the connection. If you have poor housing, it will equate to ill health. So why are we surprised when we get out what we put in? I've highlighted mold, but this is just one symptom of an unhealthy home. So what makes a healthy home? Well, good daylighting contributes to the aesthetic appearance and well-being of occupants. Noise disturbs rest and relaxation and increases stress levels. Apparently 37% of the population are bothered by neighbour noise, so good acoustic performance is needed. Space is often highlighted as a problem, particularly in new homes, leading to nationally described space standards now being widely adopted, requiring also a minimum amount of storage space. Indoor air quality is reduced from drying laundry, cooking, and introducing VOCs from paint and building materials. So good ventilation and preventing introducing these pollutants is essential. High moisture levels encourage dust mites and mold growth, which can cause asthma and eczema. A well-designed home equals better health and well-being. So we know we need to build healthy homes, but we must also ensure it remains healthy and working efficiently. As part of one of our Innovate UK projects, Totally Modular have engaged with IOPT, and we're showcasing one property that will utilise Internet of Things enabled sensors in the home. Our platform is not live yet, so I'm going to show you some case studies. And the front screen of our platform will be like this, and this shows the high level of the current alerts, the individual alerts, location of properties, and when you click on the link to properties, this will take you to the individual property page. Now, focusing on the red line, you can see that the humidity is 80%. The temperature inside the building is only 13 degrees, and the dew point is very close to this at 11.5 degrees. This combination of conditions creates serious condensation and can lead to mold growth and a very unhealthy living environment for the tenants. Now, this yellow line is the point at which the social housing landlord intervened, and in this case, they started to pay for fuel within the property themselves. And you can see a clear change. Humidity starts to drop and the temperature starts to rise, and the gap between temperature in the dew point significantly improves, and this reduces the health risk to the tenants. Now, in this second example, the temperature in blue is steady rather than spiky, and the humidity and dew point in green and pink are also at steady average levels. However, the problem in this property is the critical CO2. The carbon dioxide levels are in fact off the chart. The landlord visited this property to understand what the issue was, and it was actually 14 cats producing the very high levels of CO2. But the resulting graph and alert triggers could also be indicative of overpopulation by humans, something which a housing provider would also want to intervene for. As well as the healthy home element, the platform will monitor the performance of the other assets in the home to ensure that they're performing as expected. So we will be indicating solar production, energy consumption, home battery capacity, the amount sold to grid, amount imported and the earnings, as well as the CO2 avoided. It's a smart, energy-ready home. So in summary, this platform provides remote monitoring of various conditions which can provide landlords with indicators of negative living environments like mold growth, those living in fuel poverty, and identify vulnerable people. And the benefit to the housing provider of this proactive management of the properties results in savings in maintenance costs, and it helps identify vacant properties, which that costs a huge amount of money, the vacant properties, and it also brings about healthier properties for their tenants. People have become increasingly aware of the link between the quality of housing and maintaining good health. Data can support us to actively manage properties to bring social benefit. What do these items have in common? A car, a coffee machine, and a fridge freezer. They all come with energy performance certificates declaring how efficient they are. But one major difference between these and the EPC for a home is that for these items, it is measured from actual energy performance. An EPC for a home is almost always on the designed for scenario. We need to measure real thermal performance. Unfortunately, buildings perform 2 to 3 times worse than the intended design. And since buildings generally have a life expectancy of between 60 and 150 years, extrapolating that issue over this timescale, the thermal performance gap can seriously undermine our zero carbon ambitions. And our fantastic supply chain partner, Veritherm, can carry out a 12-hour test reflecting real-world building performance. Yet again, this is one of the many innovations that use data to drive carbon reduction. So in summary, house passports, PDFMA, smart energy networks, home health monitoring and thermal performance verification are digital solutions that could be game changers in our industry. Well, thanks Paul Taylor for this. Data doesn't tell us anything. Data doesn't say anything, humans say things. Digital solutions alone can't solve these crises. This notion of data equaling a divine truth needs challenging. Data only exists in the first place because humans choose to collect it, and they collect it using human-made tools. Therefore, data is as valuable as people. That said, we still need to believe in data because it's necessary for us to understand the problem and begin asking questions about it. It's only through asking these questions that we find a pathway to a solution. The pathway is easier to follow in collaboration. Collaboration divides the task and multiplies the success. You may have noticed that I've mentioned multiple companies during the course of this evening so far, and that's because I believe in the power of collaboration to solve our problems. It simply won't be solved alone. So thanks to all the companies that have inspired me, and I'm sorry I couldn't mention more of you, but there's loads of brilliant people out there with technological solutions. What you need to do is this. Please adopt and embrace new technologies. Bravely show others how to follow. So I said we need leadership. Now, remember, Shirtless Dancing Guy represents a pioneer in offsite construction. Let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. A leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. MMC does tend to be repetitive and easy to follow, instructional. Now, here's the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice the leader embraces him as equal. It's not about the leader, it's about them, plural. He's calling to his friends to join in. They should collaborate. It takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out, you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. This first follower turns a lone nut into a leader. If the leader's the flint, the first follower is the spark that makes the fire. Now, here's a turning point. It's the second follower. It's proof that the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. Three's a crowd and a crowd is news. The movement must be public. New followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now, in a minute, hopefully, wait for it. Here comes 2 more, then 3 more. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point. Now we've got a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they're on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't be ridiculed, they won't stand out, and they'll be part of the in crowd if they hurry. Over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to be part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining in. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how a movement is made. Let's recap quickly on what we've learned. Off-site manufacturers are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone. The first few followers nurture each other as equals. It's about the movement, not them. Be visible, be easy to follow, but the biggest lesson here is that leadership is over-glorified. Yes, it all started with the shirtless dancing guy. He'll get loads of credit, but it was the first followers that transformed this nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first followers. We're told we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. So when you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in. I'm just going to cut this video off because I know I'm going to run out of time.
We're nearly, you got long to go. We've got around. No, good girl. Keep going. Keep going.
1 minute. I've got 1 minute.
Good. Okay. Well done. Well done. Well done.
Hopefully you can see this. The built environment contributes to about 40% of the UK's total carbon footprint. It's not enough to tell individuals to do their bit or simply wait for future technologies to be adopted in a generation's time. We must come together now as an industry and look at how we can build a greener future through more sustainable construction methods right now. Don't be scared. It's time to stop with the pilot homes that dip your toe into the water, and it's time to take a bath. So quickly to recap, it's not about predicting the future, but taking the steps ourselves to ensure we get the future we want. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Remember, our greatest wealth is health. Collaboration enhances innovation. Digital solutions alone can't solve these crises. It was the first followers that transformed a lone nut into a leader. So please join in, no more toe dipping, please take a bath. And hopefully I've made the case for data-led approaches for modular technology and for providing a comprehensive information pathway and showing that holistic building design can contribute towards long-term social value. And thank you. I look forward to your questions. And sorry, I've gone a minute over.
That was well done, Elle. That's exceptionally well. Not too bad at all. That's pretty good, damn good timekeeping, Elle. Thank you so much. Okay, I want to get into some questions now. I'm assuming you can hear me okay, Elle? Everybody can hear? Yep. That's brilliant. Okay, now there's an interesting discussion we're going on chat. Simon Cash, great to see you on the chat, Simon, former chair of London Construction Excellence. Good to see you, Simon. Just very quickly says that whilst there are many good quality sustainable new housing, there are many who believe that older houses are better, Victorian and Georgian, as they have stood the test of time. My issue with MMC is its longevity in terms of design life. How can we overcome this and improve the recyclability of MMC homes? What do you think, Elle?
Okay, well, I think that older homes were designed to last longer, and people have a lot of perceptions that new build homes are not very good quality, and with good reason, because there's been an awful lot of bad press around some of the awful quality homes that we've seen from some of the larger house builders, and I'm sure some small ones do it as well. But I think that we used to build homes to last more than we do now, which is probably why people are drawn to the older homes. But in terms of energy performance, they perform very badly. And looking at the statistics, I think it was something like less than 3% were in the top, were in bands A and B for energy performance. So they're not going to help us in terms of the climate, but you might feel like it's a more solid home. I don't know if that answered the question.
No, it's interesting because what came up that was that I'm just trying to find it. Somebody, I'm ever so sorry, I'm trying to find the name of the person. I will find it in a minute. I think it was Kevin Brocklesby, I think, said about the fact, sadly, no, sorry, I think it was Andy Parnell Hopkinson. Those believe Victorian Georgian houses are high quality should try living in some. They look nice, but the heating bills. Now, yeah. Simon did counter this, and I must admit, I'm a little bit on Simon's side here because I do love Victorian and Georgian, especially the Georgian houses. Yes, there's a challenge with the heating bills, which Simon has actually acknowledged. The $64,000 question here, Elle, is can MMC be as influential on existing housing stock as it can be on brand new housing stock?
Well, I think it's an area that's being looked at quite closely now. And I'm trying to think of her name, but my mind has gone blank. But it's someone from the Active Building Centre, and I know she's looking at modularisation of MEP, and it's something we're thinking about looking at Totally Modular as well, whereby various new technologies, renewables, and all of the mechanical and electrical elements within a pod that could be retrofitted to a building, and also adding new facades to buildings. But because building all the old buildings, every single one is different, that is quite a difficult proposition. But it's a huge area. But I don't know a lot about retrofit, so I'm going to have to leave that there.
Okay, now well done, Elle. Yeah, I think as that's the challenge that the whole of the UK and probably Europe faces. Got lots of very old housing stock. Good questions, those. George Dale, well done, George, a member of the management team for London Construction Excellence. Hi, El. My understanding is that currently MMC does not have the volumes to bring down cost as well as carbon savings. Now, will legislation be required to get large house builders to start large-scale use of MMC so the volumes go up and bring costs down?
Yes,
And,
so
yeah.
I agree that at the moment the cost, because of the amount of people doing MMC, we're not getting the economies of scale. And I think I made the point that we need to all be doing it a bit more to get those economies of scales and bring the cost down. And in terms of legislation, I think if you are getting a Homes England grant, you have to use 25% MMC. So that's a start, but I think there should be a lot more. And government, to be fair, they are really backing MMC now. So I think we will see more initiatives like the Homes England one. The only thing with the Homes England one is that it calls it an element, and it's something like 55% pre-manufactured elements. So I think it's quite complicated, and I'm not exactly sure what counts. But if things like a basic roof truss being constructed off-site counts, then we're not really going to get the benefits that we want.
Well said. Great question. Good answer, El. Good answer. Now, just want to bring your attention to, I like this question. Andy Hale, thank you for your question. Now, it says there's a real perception challenge to win over the general public. Poor quality 1950, 1960s prefabs, and not just prefabs, but anything you can put up after the war got some bad publicity, and quite rightly so. Still potentially skew the general public's view of MMC because of this prefab stuff. Now, the message needs to be strong and clear in regards to enhanced quality, longevity, and sustainability, crucially supported by the financial services sector. Well said, Andy. Would you agree with that, El? And can you see any sign that there is more being done so that the ordinary Joe and Joan in the street know about MMC? What do you think, El?
Yeah, well, okay. So in terms of perception, I think people of a certain age who know about MMC from sort of the 50s and 60s think that it is poor quality. And to be fair, a lot of the buildings that were built in that time when we had another housing crisis weren't really designed to last. So, it was more of an immediate solution. So no wonder they didn't have good quality. They weren't designed in that way. But I think what was the next bit that you said, that the how can we change things? So I know that that Mark Farmer has really strongly promoted that the financial industry needs to catch up. So we need more mortgageability and warranty routes. So that's the first thing, so that the MMC systems have got some backing, that they can show, look, we've got these accreditations and warranties and you can get a mortgage, so there's no reason not to join in. And just as sort of anecdotally, my home is structurally insulated panels, and we got our mortgage through Ecology Building Society, and we managed to get a reduction in the mortgage rate because we were targeting an A rating. And I think that's a really good incentive. If we could say, right, if you build an A-rated home, you can get a couple of % off your mortgage rate, then I think many more people will be jumping in.
Well done, El. Very good. Good point, mate. Great question, by the way, and good answer, El. Now, I like this question. By the way, thank you so much for your questions. I've got more questions than I can handle, but thank you. Keep them coming in. And by the way, El, you're getting some really nice comments here. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Good. Really good. Yeah. Mark Southgate. Now, is the main issue that we are fixated on build cost, not the whole life cost or cost of poor performing homes? Great question, Mark.
Yeah, because I think if we were to put in some of the costs that I raised around health, for example, and also looking at the cost of burning fossil fuels, then it wouldn't be, it would be better to build fabric first, smart, energy ready homes. And then if we had a level playing field, I think more people would be using MMC.
That's a good answer, El. Good answer. I'm just trying to. I'm just trying to get this one here. Sorry, I think the name of the person is Arugundade. I think. Sorry, it's a bit difficult to read off the screen. So, what is the carbon footprint implication of MMC? And so that's the first question. What's the carbon footprint implication? Number 2, please. Also from the report of Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs report, there is a trade deficit of about 141 million GP from the export and import value. So what are your thoughts around this, especially the carbon impact? So let's go with the carbon impact first, El.
Okay, so I suppose you're talking about things like the carbon footprint from operating factories. Is that what?
Yep,
I think that, I suppose, in terms of what I touched on in terms of the hub and spoke model and saying with using offsite, you're moving jobs away from the point of housing need or the point of where that project is being delivered, not necessarily just housing. So then you've got the footprint of moving all the materials, but you have that with every type of construction project because all the materials need to come to site. So I think that is fairly balanced from one to the next. But the second part of that question, phone a friend, don't know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, what a good answer, El. Yeah, no, I think
collaborate to innovate.
Yeah. It's a very quick question of my own, just to throw that in. Will online, the ability to impact without having to be there in person and interact without being there in person, will that help the adapters, not the innovators, and also the ones people who are quite completely different to me, the introverts? Do you think that will help?
What, working online?
Yeah, this whole thing about collaboration. My God, if we tried to do that in construction, will online be the saviour?
Well, I'm astonished at how successfully I can operate with all the 3 consortium partners. The 3 consortium projects I work on that I mentioned. They have between 6 and about 14 partners, and we all meet only online. In fact, I've never met most of them in person, and we're managing to deliver, many good things. Hopefully, if anyone from Innovate UK is watching this, they will agree that there's some really good positive outputs. And yes, of course, when you're actually building the homes or anything else offsite, you physically need to be there in person. But in terms of the management and the process and bringing people together and trying to solve things, of course, that can happen remotely. And in terms of positives from this COVID crisis, this most definitely is one, because just to give you an idea, I've been recently talking to a company called Naked Energy. And again, I've never met them in person, but they're brilliant people. And we've put together a grant for a brilliant idea. Well, we think it's brilliant. And, all of that innovation and those ideas coming together, even if it doesn't happen, the whole process of thinking it through, and we all contributed to a smart energy building that hopefully, if we get funded, we'll be able to build. But that would never have happened if we hadn't have had COVID. We probably wouldn't have all come together in the way that we did.
No, I think you're quite right. If we wouldn't like COVID back again, thank you for being here. Now go away. Done his job. Well done, El. It's running out of time. It's a good question here. I think they're all good questions, actually. Just can't ask them all. James Ridgway, do you think, El, that a traditional built home built by a top 10 house builder would be able to achieve a net zero build? Controversial, but what do you think? What do you think?
I should probably be diplomatic and say yes if they change their ways.
Yeah. What ways, because there's been a lot of serious condemnation on major house builders, and from them themselves have said actually our quality is not good enough.
Well, some of them have done some really good things, like and to be fair, it's partly it's government's fault, because they slashed the code for sustainable homes. So back in, what was it, 2015, 2016, Hannam Hall development down in Bristol, I think it was, gosh, I hope I'm not going to get this wrong now. It might have been Bovis, but it might not have been them. Someone hopefully knows and can put it in the chat. But Hannam Hall, and they built some code 5 level homes, and they were saying, this is one of the volume house builders, they said, this is the way we're going to build them from now on, this is our offering, we're going to go up to code level 6. And then they slashed the code, and of course there's no, thank you whoever's just put that, Barrett, of course there's less incentive now, because it's not a level playing field. So like I said, we're building A-rated homes and others are building excellent homes as well. But the volume house builders, what's incentivizing them not to just build it as quick as they can, as cheaply as they can, and move on? Nothing.
Well, I'm going to go with the L. Great. Last question of the evening, because we've run out of time, but I wanted to ask it from Chris Kemp. Thank you, Chris. MMC designers need to be mindful of site location, planning restrictions, weather files under TM59, as homes will perform differently in urban environments in terms of risk to overheating. One size won't fit all. That's a very, very good question. What do you think? In response as quickly as you can, El?
Oh, yes, 100% agree. And I don't think that we're going to be looking at things in terms of, oh, well, we're going to choose volumetric or we're going to choose panelized or we're going to have some components. I think it will be a hybrid of approaches. And of course, that would be what makes most sense, because why could you not have a volumetric core through the center of the home with the kitchen and the bathroom and all the MEP elements, and then put panels around the outside? So I think that if you're responding to the site itself and the constraints around the site, making sure that you've got taking adequate account of overheating, that kind of thing, then you can't just take a design and apply everywhere.
Well done, you.
I'm going to just share some of the links that I promised in the chat now.
You carry on doing that, because unfortunately we're running out of time, but you just hang there. Please do that, because I just want to say to everybody, I'm so grateful on behalf of London Construction Excellence. Brilliant chat tonight. I'm so grateful. Obviously, thanks to Elle. Just a couple of things, two particularly important notices before we close this evening session. One, our next event is Tuesday, 8th of June, starting at 6 p.m. Guest speaker will be Simon Evans, digital energy leader and lead at Centre for Digital Britain's National Digital Twin Programme. Simon will provide a comprehensive update on UK government's National Digital Twin Programme, with brief reports from the people engaged on 3 case study projects from the Midlands, London and southwest of England. 2, please do respond to the feedback email that Anna Kelly will send you in the next 24 hours. We do everything we can to use your comments to continually improve our product and service to meet your needs. Many thanks in advance. So to round up, a huge and incredibly grateful thanks to the hard-working London Construction Engine management team, the largesse and technical wizardry of the team at Syed, who co-produced this evening's event, plus your very good selves, everybody, for really participating this evening. And many, many thanks once again to our wonderful speaker, which is the one and only Elle George. Thank you, Elle.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's been brilliant having you. You can see all the comments that good job done, Elle. Thank you so much. Right, good night, everyone. Look forward to interacting with you again in 4 weeks' time. Good night.